My dear student, I am welcoming you all to my channel. Today I am going to discuss with you about Haematinic. The name itself directly indicating you it contains heme, so which is useful for the formation of blood. So yes, hematonic. What is the proper definition for hematonic? Hematonics are substance required in the formation of blood and are used for the treatment of anemia. So hematonic is nothing but it is mainly composed of heme. That hematonic are the substance required in the formation of that. For heme is mainly useful for the formation of blood and are used for treatment of anemia. So these drugs increase the number of RBC, nothing but red blood cells, and the amount of hemoglobin to normal level and above when they are below normal. So depends upon the hemoglobin level. So the person may be affected by different types of anemia that we'll see in one more classes. First we'll see what is mean by anemia. Anemia occurs when the balance between production and reduction of red blood cells is disturbed. So how it disturbed, we'll see one by one. Due to blood loss or impaired red cell formation. Due to why? Because this red cell formation, heme will produce the red cell formation. Due to next, that impaired red cell formation due to deficiency of essential factors iron, folic acid and vitamin B12. So these are the essential factors when that impairment occurs during on cell formation, especially red cell formation. Next, bone marrow depression, erythropoietin deficiency, then increased destruction of RBC, that means hemolytic anemia. So how anemia occurs? So that anemia might be occurs. So the following reason, due to, let me repeat once again, due to blood loss, that means excessive blood loss from our body. Next one, that impaired cell formation, this is occurs due to deficiency of essential factor. That is, if when deficiency that iron, or that means that is the important elements for the formation of heme. Iron is the important elements for the formation of heme, and also folic acid and vitamin B12. Next, the bone marrow depression or erythropoietin deficiency. Fourth one, increased destruction of RBC, nothing but hemolytic anemia. So these are the main cause for the disorder of anemia. So next, this will discuss about iron. So iron in ancient time, but now also they consider as its important element for the body. So iron was found to be present in blood in 1730, that in the year of. Next, iron is an essential body constituent. So it is an essential body constituent. Total body iron in an adult human body is 2.5 to 5 grams. So which is commonly used for anemic. That the Greek thought Mars is the god of strength and iron is dedicated to Mars. So iron was used for weakness. So the person suffering weakness, so that iron, if we are giving iron in the form of so much inorganic substance, much more inorganic substance to be used for the treatment of anemia, iron and iron product. So that's why we are we are discussing about hematonic. Next, the dietary sources of iron. what are all the dietary sources of iron? We'll see wheat germ, yeast, dry fruits, dry beans, egg yolk, liver, oyster, then root vegetables. Medium sources of iron or meat, chicken, fish, spinach, apple, milk and milk products are poor sources of iron. So these are the major dietary sources of iron. Now let's see how iron distributed in our body. So iron is an essential body constituent. It is distributed in the form of like hemoglobin or iron stores as in our body. That iron stores in the form of ferritin, that means 25%, like in the form of hemoglobin. Iron distributed in various type, like iron in the form of hemoglobin, iron in form of ferritin, and hemosiderin and myoglobin in muscles like 3%. Next, parenchymal iron 6% in enzyme. So overall, that iron plays a major role for the treatment of anemic. Next we will see iron is how it is to be stored in our body. Iron is stored in the body in ferric form in combination with large protein that is known as apoferritin. I already discussed you that iron distributed in our body as in the form of hemoglobin, that is majorly iron to be stored as in the form of like 66%, 66%, and also in the form of ferritin. Ferritin, iron stores as in the form of ferritin 25%, and hemosiderin and myoglobin in muscle. In muscle, that iron to be stored as in the form of myoglobin, that is 3%, and parenchymal iron 6%, that in enzyme. Okay, so iron to be stored in our body in the form of ferric form. What ferric form? The as in the form of apoferritin. So the loss of 100 ml of blood, there is loss of 50 milligram of elemental iron. So suppose the person, if he lost or if he or she lost minimum 100 ml of blood, means that that is equivalent to 50 milligram of iron to be present. Why? Because now also I am discussing about majorly iron distributed in the form of as in the form of hemoglobin. So that's why if you lost the person, that means the person, he or she lost 100 ml of blood, that is equivalent to 50, that means half of the percentage of, that means 50 milligram of elemental iron they will lose. To rise hemoglobin level of blood by 1 gram, about 200 milligram iron is required for, in order to the same thing. Suppose how can we rise their hemoglobin level? Means, for example, if they want to raise their hemoglobin level for 1 gram, they need 200 milligram of iron is required to bring 1 gram of blood. Okay, so next we'll see about what are all the treatment of anemia. In every severe anemia, treatment when hemoglobin is 7 gram percent or below due to any cause, blood transfusion is necessary. So usually the person if gone through hemoglobin in the level of below 7 gram, so that in person to be immediately person to be transfused with the blood. And next one, in microcytic anemia and hypochromic anemia, iron is required specifically to be administered along with iron rich diet. So iron, so we already discussed what are all the major sources of iron. So these are the dietary sources of iron. So wheat germ or yeast, like dry fruits, dry beans, and egg, and vegetables, medium sources of iron, or these are the major sources, and here the medium sources of iron are meat, chicken, fish, and all spinach and milk and milk product are the major dietary sources of iron. So suppose the person if he gone below 7 gram means, so the immediately the person to be transfusion done with blood transfusion is necessary. Next, the in microcytic anemia and hypochromic anemia, iron is required specifically to be administered along with iron rich diet. So in case of in microcytic anemia and hypochromic anemia, iron is required specifically to be administered along with iron rich diet. In case of macrolytic anemia due to any cause, liver extract, vitamin B12, folic acid, these and all having much more iron present in that, like vitamin B12, folic acid. So these are the formation of red blood cells. So each alone or in combination are used. In pernicious anemia, vitamin B12 is especially needed for treatment. So in case of the person suffering in case of, so these are the types of anemia, and already I told you anemia occurs due to the loss of red blood cells. So that's why we are going to increases the red cell formation by giving the person to the iron product, so the person automatically impaired red cell formation can be cured. And I told you in the beginning class what are all the reason or what are all the factors to be affected the person to have anemic disorder, means due to blood loss or impaired red cell, due to blood loss or impaired red cell formation, due to deficiency of essential factors. Like these are all the essential factors, so which is need for the formation of red cell formation, like iron, folic acid, and vitamin B12. Next, bone marrow. So for red cell formation we need heme. Okay, so then how can we increases the hemoglobin content, means suppose the person taking iron rich food, so the automatically person in having hemoglobin, rising their content of hemoglobin, so that hemoglobin will cure the impairment of red cell formation. And also their what are the deficiency of essential factor like iron, folic acid, and vitamin B12. And bone marrow depression also, if the level of increasing the level of hemoglobin, so we can overcome from these problems. Okay. Next, that in case of pernicious anemia, vitamin B12 is specially needed for treatment. Now, in all cases of anemia, side by side with the treatment of anemia, symptomatic treatment should be given with dietary supplement. So in overall, so to get rid of these anemic disorder, so the main treatment is that the person can be ingested with the dietary supplement, that iron, that is sources of iron rich fruit, so the person can be easily recovering from the different types of anemic disorder. Next, morphologically classification of anemia also, like microcytic anemia, the size of what is mean by, so I think this treatment of anemia, this one treatment of anemia, that in case of like below 11 hemoglobin 11, if means, so the person to be transfusion with blood, that blood transfusion is necessary. Then in case of microcytic anemia, means especially to be administered along with iron rich diet, and macrolytic anemia due to any cause, liver extract and vitamin D, B12 and folic acid, each alone or combination or be used. In case of macrolytic means we are the person to be injected with liver extract, vitamin B12, folic acid, etc. In case of pernicious anemia means vitamin B12 is specifically needed for the treatment. Next we'll see about classification of anemia is on under that microlytic anemia means how it occurs. The size of red blood cell is smaller than the normal size. If the RBC size is smaller than that of normal size means the person to be affected by micro means small, so that the name itself indicates you. Anemia means how anemic occurs, that because of impaired red cell formation. So in order to increases there or impaired the red cell formation, so we need heme. For that heme, increasing the level of hemoglobin level, so we should consume with excess amount of iron. So that iron or iron rich dietary food only which will increases the level of anemic, will increase the level of heme, that means protection of heme. That excess protection of heme which will form the red cell formation, increases the red blood cell. So suppose that the size of red blood cells is smaller than that of normal size means, so the person affected with microlytic anemia. Macro is nothing but larger, so the same against quite opposite to the first one. Micro means red blood cells smaller than the normal. Macrocytic means the red blood cells RBC is larger than the normal. Then microcytic. Next, microcytic hypochromic anemia. The size of the red blood cells is found smaller than the normal size and the hemoglobin amount is less than the normal value. So the size of red blood cells is found smaller than the normal. Micro hypochromic. Here the hypochromic is nothing but that hemoglobin amount. Here that RBC level, RBC size is small, also hemoglobin level also very less than the normal. That's why the term known as disorder known as microcytic and hypochromic. What is that? Microcytic means the size less than the normal RBC, and hypochromic means it is less than hemoglobin amount. Then aplastic anemia. Next one, aplastic anemia is nothing but it is a combination in which there is inadequate red blood cells formation, as a result degeneration of bone marrow. So RBC is present or of normal size. Aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia is nothing but inadequate red cell formation as a result of degeneration of bone marrow. So here if we have iron rich product, so that iron rich product which will increases the or production of heme, that heme is responsible for the producing or increasing the number of RBC cells. That RBC will have regularized the or generate the bone marrow. So if it fail in these above cases, so we will have automatically like microlytic anemia, macrolytic anemia, and microlytic and hypochromic anemia. Next, aplastic anemia. Then hemolytic anemia, that is increased destruction of red blood cell in this condition. So the red cell present in normal size and contains normal quantity of hemoglobin. Okay, next, megaloplastic. Aplastic is differ from megaloplastic. Aplastic here inadequate red blood cells. What is that? Inadequate red blood cells. Here megaloplastic anemia is nothing but in this condition in which erythrocytes, that is RBC, fail to mature because of deficiency of vitamin, like pernicious anemia and megaloblastic anemia. For these type of disorder, we need vitamin B12 to overcome, B12 or folic acid to overcome this problem. And sickle cell anemia, what is the name this one? Sickle cell anemia. In this condition, mutant hemoglobin molecule undergo polymerization under low oxygen tension. So the shape of RBC changes from biconcave disc to elongated sickle like shape. So the person converting that means in this condition, mutant hemoglobin molecule undergo polymerization under low oxygen tension. So the RBC changes somehow changed into look like a sickle in elongated sickle like shape. That's why it's termed as sickle cell anemia. Next, pernicious. I already told you pernicious anemia and megaloblastic anemia due to cause of vitamin B12 and folic acid. So lack of intrinsic, that is pernicious anemia, and megaloblastic anemia due to lack of vitamin B12 and folic acid. Okay, so far we have discussed different types of anemia, like microcytic anemia, that means size is small than the normal, and macro means size is larger than the RBC, and micro and hypochromic, that micro is size smaller than the normal, then hypochromic also. Here that hypochromic, that hemoglobin amount is less than the normal value, and aplastic is nothing but here that inadequate red blood cells, that is not sufficient amount of RBC, the result in degeneration of bone marrow. Here the bone marrow responsible for the protection of RBC. See, sorry, one by one, if we eat dietary, once again repeat me, if we eat dietary rich product, that is responsible for the protection of heme, that heme is responsible to cure the impairment of RBC, that RBC which will generate the bone marrow, then RBC present of normal size. Then hemolytic anemia is a condition in which there is increased in which there is increased destruction of red blood cell. So the red cell present is of normal size and contains normal quantity of hemoglobin, normal size and normal. The red cells present is of normal size and contains normal quantity of hemoglobin. Next, iron deficiency anemia, that is the name itself giving somehow clue. Iron deficiency means less amount of iron or loss of iron by hemorrhage. So in this condition, the red blood cells are small in size and contain less than the normal quantity of hemoglobin. Hypochromic. Then megalo is nothing but which will fail the mature because of megaloplastic means pernicious megalo, I already told you, and sickle cell anemia. So that RBC somehow changed into like a sickle like shape. So this is known as sickle cell anemia, and pernicious anemia is also the disorder of vitamin B12 deficiency. In lateral and posterior column of spiral cord deteriorate, RBC and WBC count is reduced. There is weakness, tingling and numbness in leg and arm, fever and anorexia and weight loss occur. So these are the normal symptoms of pernicious anemia. Next we will see about pharmaceutical, like iron in the form of like iron sulfate. So here we are going to study according to your syllabus. So what is a pharmaceutical inorganic substance? Here we have for the treatment of loss of heme or lack of heme. So that formulation to be available in the form of iron rich for contains. So here the ferrous sulfate, we'll see briefly about what is the preparation and preparation method of method of preparation and molecular weight and molecular formula. Let's see one by one. Ferrous sulfate is nothing but synonym green vitriol. Molecular formula: ferrous sulfate in the 7 molecules of water and molecular weight 278. Preparation: when iron is treated with dilute sulfuric acid, ferrous in the form of ferrous sulfate, and thereby removal of hydrogen gas. So simply we may prepare ferrous when treated with sulfuric acid. So it replaces when the ferrous or iron will go and attach with the sulfate formed from the sulfuric acid. So there is a removal of hydrogen. Then property, physical property: it occurs as transparent, pale bluish green crystalline powder, odorless, metallic iron in taste. Why? Because that you may also notice so if you have that medication contains like iron in form of iron is one of the element only, so we feel like metallic in taste, very soluble in boiling water and freely soluble in water, but practically insoluble in alcohol. Next, chemical property: when it is treated with ceric ammonium, that means CaS, ceric ammonium sulfate in acidic medium, it reduces ceric ammonium sulfate into ceric form. That means Fe2 plus ceric ammonium sulfate, Ce ceric ammonium sulfate, converting into ceric ion. Okay, so it is used as Haematinic in the treatment of iron deficiency anemia. It is also used to dye fabrics and in tanning leather. Okay, next, assay. Then how do you perform ferrous sulfate assay? So weigh accurately 1 gram of ferrous sulfate is nothing but FeSO4. So here that synonym, this is the for fill up or objective type questions will come. Like ferrous sulfate means green vitrea. Suppose in case of, like we already discussed in that expectorant emetic, Haematinic, what is the use, what is the inorganic substance means? Copper sulfate and sodium potassium tartrate, like ammonium chloride and zinc chloride, these are comes under, or ammonium chloride and potassium iodide used as a expectorant. So here ferrous sulfate somehow looks like a green color, so it is termed as green vitrea. And dissolved in, so the 1 gram of ferrous sulfate and dissolved in 20 ml of diluted sulfuric acid, the same as that of sulfuric. Immediately the weighed quantity of the ferrous sulfate to be treated with sulfuric acid and titrate the content of the flask with 0.1 N, that means N/10 potassium permanganate, until a permanent pink color is obtained. So thank you.